This is Fresh Boy Production.
What is going on, everybody? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. What is going on? How you doing? What's up? What's happening? If you're listening to this episode, ladies and gentlemen, you would know this episode is not released on the regular release date, and it's one of those things where life happen, things happen, but here we are, here we go. You're still going to get your fix today. Today's episode is going to be an interesting episode, and I'll tell you that why. But just want to check in with my people, let it's been a good week. Things been going good. Getting ready to head to Atlanta, Georgia, the ATL for our annual conference. That is going to be a good time. Haven't been to Atlanta in a minute. Ready to get down there, get some Waffle House, get some lemon pepper wings, if you know what I mean, right? That's what we're going there for the lemon pepper wings. We're having a good time and catching up and get you all up on the sports. I'm always going to hit a little bit on the sports, and I don't know what my Chicago Bulls are doing, but damn it, we have about 15 second round picks, and yeah, we're looking rough. It's going to be a rough season for us next year. We need to get rid of the coach. The GM needs to go. There's a lot of changes that actually just need to be done across the board for my Chicago Bulls. And my Michigan Wolverines, the basketball, second in the country behind Arizona, doing a good job out there, killing it, crushing it. Two top 10 wins last week. So yeah, it's just good. I'm happy where I'm at with sports right now with my teams. Besides the Bulls, but it is what it is. Let's get into it. Right, today is going to be an interesting episode. As you all know, the name of the podcast is Breakthrough Blueprint. We always talking about breakthrough, helping you tap into your full potential. And one thing I've noticed with talking to people and coaching people, and hell, even taking a look in the mirror and talking to myself, is that right now people do not need a breakthrough. Now some people do, but I'm just gonna, this is in general, this is not talking to everybody. Some people do, but right now, people don't need a breakthrough, people need consistency. Everybody keeps chasing that big moment. Everybody just keep chasing that home run instead of the daily execution, instead of getting to first base, instead of advancing and running from first base to second base, instead of butting and getting, like, everybody's looking for that big moment. And what's starting to happen is that starting to see a lot of people get burnt out. You're starting to see people get fatigued. And granted, it's that time of the year. A lot of changes are being made. A lot of people are looking back and seeing that, they're still thinking about last year where they're not where they should have been last year, or even right now, going into the middle of February, almost at March, which is going to be crazy. But people are looking at that and they're comparing those things and they're struggling. So they're looking for that big moment when we know the fortune is in the follow up. We know the fortune is in that consistency, time on task over time, focusing on executing on a daily basis, 1% better every day. They're looking for that big moment. And we can't always look for that big moment. And you guys know I always go back to sports when I talk about things, yet a baseball team, they don't look for a home run every single at bat. If they can get three home runs back to back, that's cool. Yet some people' purpose is not to hit a home run. Their purpose is to get on base. Think about football. Yes, you want to get a kickoff return. Yet if you can't get a kickoff return and you're pinned on your own 5 yard line, the focus is, okay, we need a first down. The first play of that drive, you want to get 5 or more yards. That's going to set you up for a manageable second and whatever. Then if you get to third and one, third and short, you're manageable. It's about taking those little steps every single day. And again, people are getting too wrapped up and chasing that big moment instead of that, executing on a daily basis. And I again, this topic for me was a big thing because not only is people I'm talking to, and I catch myself doing that sometimes. I catch myself looking like, okay, what is that big moment that, man, if I could just get this booking, man, if I could just can get this type of coaching client, man, if I could just get this. I'm always looking for, not always. I'm looking, sometimes I'm looking for that big moment instead of putting those pieces together, instead of those little 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, so forth and so forth. And that's what we got to look for. And everybody wants a moment that changes everything. And I don't know if that's how we've been conditioned or how, you know, when we look at movies or you see people who are in different positions where they've had that defining moment. They had that moment that just changed everything. When in actuality, we don't need to put ourselves in that corner to get that moment. But if we just be consistent and show up on a daily basis, we're able to do the things we need to do. And very few people actually want the daily work. A lot of few people, they don't want that daily work that actually gets you to where you want to get to. Again, being a coach, also when I was being coached, it was always okay. What have you done on a consistent daily basis to hit your goal? And this goes for business, this goes for key relationships, this goes for working out. What have you done today to get you closer to your goal? Right? What have you done today to get you closer to your goal? That's one of those big things that, we have to think about when we are doing our things like, did I do something today to get me closer to my goal? And we already know it's that 1% every day. 1% every day. Have I done what I needed to do to get me closer to my goals today? And here's one thing I want to share with you. And it's, you're not stuck because you haven't had a breakthrough. You're stuck because you haven't stayed consistent. For real, you're not stuck because you haven't had a breakthrough. You're stuck because you haven't stayed consistent. And again, this is one of those conversations where, hell, I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you all. There's some areas that I need to get back consistent in. There's some areas where it's I felt that way, like, damn, I'm behind the eight ball. I'm stuck on this. I'm not in the right place. And it's because I haven't stayed consistent in those things that I need to do. And that's a big part of it. And when we think about consistency, here's, people, we make consistency so hard. For the big part about it is people say it's boring. Doing the same thing is boring. Yes, and if you are doing those same things for a bigger purpose, for a bigger reason, that boredom is not that much for us because you're excited about the outcome. That's why we always say, what is your goal? What is your big why? What is the thing that you want to accomplish? Because you have to lean on that when motivation runs out, because we know motivation runs out. We have to lean on those things that keeps us going. Consistency is not gonna, it's not the shiny object. It's not the thing that gets the round of applause. It's not the things that get people excited. It's not the highlight reels that you see on when you're on social media. The only time you probably get, standing ovation and highlight reels when you're being consistent is when you post your gym pictures, right? You go to the gym, you hit a new PR, you go to the gym, you showing your workout. Like that is probably the only time where you get some form of applause or you get people to like, yes, yes, yes. Right. Another component of that is consistency. There's no immediate reward. It's that delayed gratification. We do not like waiting for something we want. That's why fast food is a thing. That's why we love fast food because it's quick, it's fast, it's in a hurry. Jimmy John's, freaky, what's they slogan, freaky fast. That is, we hate delayed gratification. So when you tell somebody like, hey, you have to be consistent in doing this to get to where you want to get to, that's already turned us off because it's like, damn, I gotta wait. Damn, I gotta do that. Damn, that's crazy. And here's a big thing, right? And it ties into that is that consistency does not require dopamine, right? Think about it. Dopamine is the thing that makes us excited. It's one of those things where you have to have discipline without the dopamine. Now, some people can do this. I'm struggling on this with the, working out without having a pre-workout or a little energy drink. I'm currently struggling with that, right? And for my people that know me, y'all know that's a struggle. Yet it's thinking about like, hey, consistently getting up every morning at 5:30 a.m. to go work out without that dopamine push getting into the door, because we know working out you're going to have that dopamine once you start working out, but that initial getting through the door, that's that discipline. If you are not an energy drink, if you're not a pre-workout person, that's that dopamine. You don't have that going into that. You get it when you start working out, but that's one of the reasons why consistency feels so hard, because it's not that exciting part when you go into the office and you're about to lead generate every day 5 days a week. It's not exciting to you. So, it's hard to stay consistent in doing that. But what we know is consistency definitely builds our identity, right? It builds our identity, right? It's one of those things where the only way you can become confident is you have to build it through the repetition. That's where the confidence come from. You do it one day, it's hard. You do it the next day, like, oh, okay, I get it. And you constantly doing it. That's where your confidence get built in, because you're showing up in a way like, damn, I didn't think I could be consistently doing this boring shit every single day, but yet I'm doing it. Man, I can do anything. And for you all that's looking for discipline, you're not going to find it anywhere. You have to practice it. You have to practice discipline, because take it for someone who loves Oreos, that if I see Oreos or I see French fries, man, talking about practice to not grab some fries, to not grab an Oreo. Like, you can't find the discipline. You have to practice it. You have to get to it. You have to build that calluses. You have to build that muscle that show that you're going to stay disciplined in what it is you need to do. And then your identity comes from showing up every single day, even on the days where you do not feel like it. That is the big part. Even the days you do not feel like it. When we feel good and we're excited, we're on top of the world. We can show up and do anything. But those days where we feel like shit, those days where we don't feel like doing anything, that's the days we have to really, show who we are. Again, we don't need to be looking for a breakthrough. We need to be looking to be consistent. We don't need to be looking for a breakthrough. We need to be looking to be consistent. And here's where people fall off with that, right? And we've talked about this over the past few weeks. This has kind of been like a topic, because it's what I've been seeing from people. It's what I've been going through in certain aspects, and it's just that time of year. It's just that realm we in where people fall off after a hard week, which we talked about last week. Remember, we literally talked about that. Like, after a hard week, that's when you know that you built that consistency, you built that discipline, because you had a hard week and you still going. You should be proud about that. But that's usually where people fall off. The second part is when things are slow, the results aren't how they want it to be. You see that at the gym a lot. People are like, man, I've been going to the gym for a month and I'm not seeing the results I want. Like, so what's even the point of me going to the gym? Like, no, that the point is you showing up every single day, even when things get slow. You're gonna hit your ceiling. You're gonna plateau every level you get to. It's just about still showing up and doing what you want to do. For my parents, my business owners, when life get busy, we use that as an excuse as well to why we're not doing what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. Man, I had this going on. This came up, man. I just been busy. I've been busy. We can't use that as an excuse all the time because we know these things are going to happen. And the most important one, we already know this because motivation is bullshit, is when motivation disappears. Like I just shared, like, in about 2 weeks, we're going to our conference down in Atlanta. Everybody's going to be pumped up. Everybody's going to be on 10. Everybody's going to be excited. You know, then when we get to a week or so after that conference, after that event, that's when people start that motivation start fading away. But here's what doesn't fade away: those standards that we put in place. Standards do not disappear on hard weeks. We talked about this last week. I am going to keep hammering it in about those standards. Like, you have to have standards. Your standards is your safety net. Your standards is the basics that you go back to when things are getting hard, when things are not doing what you wanted to do. And we got to talk about consistency in business and consistency in your personal life. For my people in business, you already know what consistency look like in business. Now, I'm going to say lead generation for my realtors, but hell, if you are a business owner, period, you are lead generating with anything because you need customers. So, lead generation, lead follow up, training, relationship building, these are the things that you need to be consistent with to build your business. These are the things that you need to do on a daily, consistent basis. And remember, small daily actions compound faster than occasional intensity. Yes, you might have those spurts where you just like going like intense, 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 but those small daily actions that compounds over time. 1% better every day. Think about it when you're working out. You lift heavy one day, you go light a little bit the next day, you go a little bit more the next day, you go a little bit, then you go heavy again. It's that consistency. I say it all the time, and talking about the gym where it's a situation where you do not feel like working out. You woke up late, you're sore, you're not feeling good, and you go to the gym for just 15, 20 minutes. Going to the gym for 15 to 20 minutes goes a long way than you just saying, "Oh man, you know what? I don't feel like it. I had a rough day. I want to work out." And now you don't do nothing. It's that small daily actions that keep you going. And on the personal side of things, the personal realms of things, is what is your health routine like? Consistency in health. This next one for me is the big one: sleep. Your boy got to get some sleep. Your boy be, mess around, fall asleep at 11 or 12, right back up at 4:30, 4:45. I BS around before I go to the gym. But sleep is a big thing. The one thing we always talk about too, self talk. What are the things you're saying to yourself? What are the things you're saying to yourself? Are you talking to yourself in a way that you are beating yourself up? Okay, let's just say you did miss the gym. Are you letting that get you down where you're just holding on to that shit? Like, no, you can't do that. Creating boundaries. I had this conversation with somebody, and their thing was like, man, I have to create boundaries and I have to stay on top of my boundaries. That's how you're going to keep that consistency in your life. You create those boundaries, you create those standards. And then what is that support system? That can be family, that can be friends. What is that support system? And we call it that family presence because some of my best friends, I consider them family, right? These are the things that's going to consistently keep your personal life, keep you grounded to where you want to be. Is having these things in place. You and I want you to realize this: you do not need to overhaul your life. You just need to stop abandoning it. You don't have to overhaul it. You don't have to make a big drastic change all the time. Let me rephrase that because I know some people that needed to make a big overhaul of their life, like moving from one state to another. Like, these are some things you have to do. Yes. So I'm gonna catch myself. I'm gonna check myself on that because there may be a situation where you do have to do a complete overhaul. But majority of the time, you don't need to do a complete overhaul. You just need to make sure that you're being consistent on the things, the small things, and doing it on a daily basis. One small change can go a long way. One small change could go a long way. Then we want to look at how do we view success? Is success one of those things we need to redefine? And if that is the case, if you need to change the way you view success, then let's redefine success. Let's look at success as it's dependable. Success isn't dramatic, right? But it's boring. Success is born and it's earned. Remember, we already talked about like when you got to show up and do the same things over and over, like it gets boring. Success is born, yet when you earn it, when you go through the shit you go through to get it, you appreciate it a lot more. And take it a step further, once you get success and you went through the hard shit and you get it, you appreciate it. Let's just say a situation happened where you lose some of that. You already know the steps, you already know the things that it took to get there, that you can easily bounce back and get back there. Right? Stop chasing the big moments. Instead, focus on the daily execution. You're not stuck because you didn't have a breakthrough. You're stuck because you're not consistent. As you all know, when we get to the end of an episode, I always like to throw challenges out there to you. So here's the challenge to you all. Pick one habit. You're gonna pick one habit. Then you're gonna commit to it for 30 days. Commit to that. One habit you pick, commit to it for 30 days. No negotiation, no emotion, just execution. Like fuck it, just balls to the wall, pedal to the metal. I am going to pick this one habit. I'm going to commit to that habit, and I am. It's a non-negotiable. It's a standard, right? Remember, our standards are non-negotiable. So that one habit that we're going to pick, we're not going to be emotionally attached to it. It's a non-negotiable. We're just going to execute. We're just going to get into action. We're just going to go. Again, you're not stuck because you haven't had a breakthrough. You're stuck because you're not consistent. And remember, the podcast is called Breakthrough Blueprint, right? But again, what I realize is that it's not always the breakthrough that you need. It's just always what you have is just being consistent to what you have. Being consistent on what it is you need to do. And if we look at it, I just had the thought of like, we don't always need the breakthrough, but if we can stay consistent to what we need to stay consistent to, that breakthrough is going to come as the byproduct of us being consistent to what it is that we need to do. So again, pick one habit, commit to it for 30 days. No emotions, non-negotiable, just get into action. This is your boy, Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman. And thank you for checking into another episode of Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. Go be consistent. Go have that non negotiable. Go create those standards. I'll see you next week.
Fresh